The 15-Point Plan is part of the Win Make Give podcast network.
Welcome to the 15-Point Plan podcast. Chad Himes here, joined by the sunny Jillene Snell. Jillene, how are you today?
I'm feeling kind of energetic and happy today, Chad.
Now, Jillene, you know why I use the term sunny to describe you today, I'm hoping.
Can we call it Sunny D?
You can call it Sunny D.
Did you ever drink that as a child?
Not at all,
Sunny
ever.
D, Sunny Delight?
Yeah, I know what it is.
Yeah.
Never drank it.
And it's fortified with something.
I'm sure it is. And that's today's topic. We're going to be talking today about
Vitamin D.
Vitamin D. That's right. During the supplement section, we have taken you through some minerals. Jillene has done some research on that. And I said, of all the vitamins that are out there, I think the one that most people maybe have heard about, yet still don't do anything about and don't pay attention to enough, is vitamin D.
Correct.
So I wanted to dive in deep on this. Jillene, let's talk a little bit about what makes vitamin D so important to us. Tell us, what is it that makes vitamin D so important to a human body?
Well, I'm just going to throw a curveball out there, and
Sure.
It's called vitamin D.
Yep.
But it functions as a hormone in the body. So
Yes.
interestingly enough, and we won't dive into that in this episode, but it is called vitamin D, and it's needed to absorb calcium
Yep.
and promote bone growth, which is why they say milk might do the body good for you, right? You remember those commercials as a child.
I do.
And vitamin D deficiency, this is like on the opposite end, right?
Yep.
Is if you were to have mood swings, you have some depression, lack of energy, maybe some skin conditions that are chronic.
Yep.
And then some serious ones like breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, heart disease, and weight gain. I mean, that's a rap sheet of potential issues if you have a deficiency. So this is an important topic today.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we know is the only proven, and I'm putting quotes around that as I say it, right? The only proven benefit of vitamin D is its role in helping calcium build strong bones. It helps with that, okay? And still, that's far from the whole story of vitamin D, because we know it helps regulate your immune system, your neuromuscular system, and it plays a major role in the life cycle of human cells. And you talked about the fact that our body's made up of, well, a lot of those.
Right. Like
You've
30 trillion.
30 trillion or something like that, right? Here's the scary thing, Jillene. About 42% of the U.S. population deficient in vitamin D.
Does that mean we have a lot of depressed people? Or wait, what does that mean?
Yes, we do, right?
Right.
So what that tells us is some populations will be even higher than that 42%. Premenopausal women, don't throw anything at me. I'm just reading statistics here, right? Those with poor nutrition habits, people over 65, Caucasians who avoid the sun, right? I am a very fair-skinned person. I burn very, very quickly. I don't know what a suntan looks like on my body. I have to be very careful for that. That can put me in that group there, okay? And there are certain people who will take prescription medications that'll actually interfere with vitamin D absorption in the body.
That's good to know.
What we know, studies have shown, is that people who have a darker skin, so African Americans, Latinos, they're at a lower risk, or they're at a risk for low vitamin D levels also, because the high amounts of melanin in their skin reduces their body to actually produce it from sunlight. You see, Jillene, vitamin D is the one vitamin that doesn't really come from too many sources of food.
Yeah, I mean, it comes back to the sun, right? Sun and supplements.
Yes.
And so when the sun's ultraviolet B light hits you, it turns a chemical in your skin into vitamin D3. And then that D3 is transferred from your liver to your kidneys, where it becomes like this active form of vitamin D that's usable in your body that will give you these health benefits we're talking about.
Yeah, and what we want you to understand is that vitamin D, as I was saying, doesn't occur in a lot of foods. Most of those foods will actually tell you they're vitamin D fortified milk or cereals or yogurts. And that's not because it was there naturally. That's because they added it, right? Salmon and mushrooms and egg yolks is where you'll find them. And how many people say, oh, only egg whites for me, right? They think that the yolk is horrible for some reason because there's fats in it.
Eat your sunny side up, pun intended.
Amen, right? And we've talked about that on fats on past episodes, so we don't have to dive into it. Yet we want people to understand vitamin D you're mostly getting in a pill form, okay? We're going to go through this one quickly because I don't want to, I mean, we could rip this, we could be here for days. We were talking before this episode about how vitamin D could be a 5-episode series just on vitamin D, and that would be boring for everybody. So we're just taking you through a very high overview of vitamin D. I want you to know that the recommended daily amount of vitamin D, you talked in our last episode about the RDA a lot, okay? Recommended dietary allowance. With vitamin D is, they use a term called IU, which is international units, okay? So it's 400 IUs for people up to the age 12, 600 IUs for people 1 to 70 years old, and then 800 IUs for people that are over 70.
You know, it's interesting. The FDA actually doubled the recommended amount about 5 years ago. So that's where it sits at 800, which is double what it was before.
Yeah. And what I want you to understand, I take a lot more than that. Because if you're active, you're needing it in your system. Now, men should take more than women. We've talked about that. You talked about that, not in detail, but you talked about that a lot with the minerals, that men and women are not equal in this situation.
Well, when you overdose or have too much vitamin D, it prevents the proper calcium absorption into your body, which females especially need for strong bones and keeping our bones healthy as we age. That's hard for me to say, Chad, as we age, but important to the
most women have
conversation.
trouble talking about aging too, Jillene. Don't worry, it's not just you. Okay. What we want you to understand, here's some you're taking too much if you're having vomiting. That's bad. Okay. That you should just assume that that's bad. Poor appetite or weight loss just happening, you're probably taking too much. Constipation, weakness, confusion, disorientation, heart rhythm problems, kidney stones, kidney damages. Okay. Go get a blood test. We can't say this enough during the supplement section. Go get your blood checked. Go talk to a doctor and say, where am I on all the vitamins and minerals that I need in my system? Now, Jillene, vitamin D, the single best source of it, is not a supplement. You've said it enough times.
It's the sunshine.
It's the sunshine.
Yeah, and depending on where you live, right? You could maybe get it, or if you live in Toronto and you go 50 days without the sun coming out, you might not get it naturally. Sources that I follow recommend, like Dave Asprey recommends that if you have sun available to you, it's out. Not like the Northwest Washington 90% of the year. Go out in the sun prior to 10 a.m.
Yes.
And actually expose your skin. You might get a little naked and get some vitamin D. And sit in the sun for about 10 to 20 minutes prior to 10 and 10 to 20 minutes after 4 p.m. So that's the best way to get it. And I just talked about previously how that translates into your body. And then, of course, the supplements on top of that is huge. That's the ideal world, Chad.
Yeah, that's the perfect world. You're saying that really well, Jillene, that it's before 10 a.m. or after 4 p.m. So it's not that noonday sun where we all want to go outside and go, right? That's when the radiation of the sun is going to be the worst. It's getting out there early as the sun's coming up, or it's getting out there near the end of the day. Now, as Jillene said, if you live in the Pacific Northwest like we do, the sun's not up before 10 o'clock and it's already down by 4 o'clock. So, you got to figure it out. But it's 10 to 20 minutes of sunlight on as much of your skin as you're willing to expose. Right? You don't have to go get your mail naked. Your neighbors might have an issue if you're doing that to get your sun. Yet, can you do it not all bundled up and covered up and getting some of that onto your skin? It's the single best source. Your secondary best source is go supplement it by taking a vitamin. And yes, there's many different vitamins out there in the D world. Do your research and do your homework. Jillene, I found some really interesting information about vitamin D that I think is really specific to today.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm intrigued.
And I'm going to say this before I get into this. Folks, we here at the 15-Point Plan and in the Win, Make, Give podcast network, our hearts go out to anybody who has had the challenge during the COVID-19, anybody who has lost somebody in their world. We understand how hard that must be. We've all dealt with others in our world that have had the challenges. But I want to read you some information. And the vitamin D deficiency has been shown to potentially increase the risk of severe respiratory infections, which has led to investigations of a vitamin D deficiency and the potential use of vitamin D supplement during our COVID-19 pandemic that we're still in. Okay?
I hope everyone was listening to that. Dave Asprey actually talks about that. Again, I mentioned him on the podcast. That exact same thing. And he's a believer that can be a prevention.
Yeah.
So tell us more about that.
So several reviews and analysis of multiple studies have described the association of vitamin D deficiency with adverse outcomes in COVID-19. Okay? One found that while deficiency was not associated with a higher probability of getting COVID, there were significant associations that show up for the more severe disease, including increased hospitalizations and mortality rates 80% higher for those with a vitamin D deficiency. In July of 2020, the U.S. National Institute of Health found that they don't believe any of it. Okay, everybody can believe what they want to believe.
Right.
What we want you to understand is vitamin D is going to do nothing negative for you unless you're ODing on it, as would anything.
Which is actually hard to do.
Yes.
Right? Well, and studies also show that if we're deficient in vitamin D, we're 3 to 4 times more likely to catch a cold. So if you think about this just logically, it would make sense that a viral respiratory infection like COVID-19 would be worse if we were vitamin D deficient.
Yes.
So thinking about that logically, and you take out some of the arguments on this, it can definitely help, not hurt.
And what we want you to understand is that it's as simple as taking a vitamin D supplement or getting 10 to 30 minutes a day in the morning or in the early evening before the sun's gone, that you are getting sun for your body. And it is the sort of thing that almost half of the population is vitamin D deficient. So look to your left. One of the two of you is vitamin D deficient, probably. Make sure that's not you, because we want to help you stay as healthy as you can for as long as you can. This is also why depression swings during the seasons. You ever notice more people are depressed in January and February than they are in July and August? Why? Because naturally you're outdoors in July and August getting sun. Okay? You're laying on the beach. You're going for that outdoor walk. You're going running outside instead of on your treadmill. You're taking the dog for a longer walk, and you're exposing more of your skin instead of just wrapping yourself up and bundling yourself up because it's cold or wet.
Right.
Okay. Folks, the sun is your friend.
Moral of the story, book that next vacation in a tropical place.
During the winter where you live.
During the winter.
That's right. Get to the tropical vacation during the winter months. Keep your vitamin D levels up. Join us in our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/win-make-give, where we continue these conversations. Jillene and I will debate certain conversations. You know we like to do it. And we keep bringing you additional information. And we hope this episode ups your energy and takes you to the next level.